All right. Looks like we are live. Welcome, all my fine aviation enthusiast friends. Welcome back to the Airplane Show Day After Christmas Special. So here we are. If you celebrated Christmas, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. If you do not celebrate Christmas, I hope you had a wonderful day nonetheless. I had a really good day. It was a lot of fun. Watched two of my favorite movies, probably my two favorite movies that are not. So my favorite comedy is 40-Year-Old Virgin. Love that movie, the unrated version. But outside of comedies, my regular two movies that are my favorites are Django Unchained and The Hateful Eight. And I watched both of them bitches yesterday, and it was a great day because anytime I get a chance to watch those movies, it is wonderful. I love those movies. I've probably seen those, I don't know how many times, probably over 500 times, maybe 1,000 times I've seen those movies. So tonight's flight is based off of Air Canada Flight 216 that is actually going on right now. If you go to FlightAware and type in ACA 216, that you'll see, we're not flying a Boeing, sorry about that. You'll see that this flight is en route from Vancouver to Calgary. So that's what we're going to replicate tonight. Now, I am fully aware that the plane they're flying tonight is not an A310. The plane that they are flying tonight is an A321, and that has almost the exact same seating capacity as the A310, and that's why we're going to fly it. I looked at A330 flights, but there were none that were like less than 4 hours with any of the liveries that I have. And so in real life, when the A310 was retired, the A330 took the place of the A310. So once the A310 was decommissioned, the A330 series took the place of it. So we have this livery from Air Canada, and we also have this Rogue or Rouge, which is pretty cool looking, actually. Let's fly that one tonight. All right, let's go ahead and do a couple of setup options because I believe I can keep traffic on with this one. We're not doing live time. I don't know about the weather part yet, but we will see. So let's go ahead and turn traffic on tonight. I'm just going to do the AI offline. And let's set this for like 30%. We can get a touch of realism. You know, we're not flying anything with fancy screens. Now, I have had this airplane, I have had their screens go off before, but not very common that the screens go off on this plane, especially when we're not flying from handcrafted airports and live time is turned off and all that. So I'll probably turn off live weather also, just to make sure that the screens stay off. I don't know yet. I haven't really decided what I'm going to do with that part yet. I guess I do need to make an executive decision on that here pretty soon. Photogrammetry, let's turn that on. And I think that's it for... All right, and we should have the ATC stuff on. Let's just double check. ATC, okay, all that's on, very good. All right, let's go ahead and put in the name of our plane tonight. So, I don't know the tail number, so we'll leave the tail number the same, but this is ACA. Fall asleep. I had another person message me that they fell asleep while watching it, so that's why I put fall asleep in the title. All right, let's see here, and it's 216. Okay, so ACA 216 tail number, we can leave that. All right, let's go choose our airport. It's CYVR, and we are supposed to be at gate C30. That's where the plane started off at, so we will see how close we can get to gate C30. All right, CYVR, that's Vancouverish. All right, now that we're here, let's go ahead and plug in the correct time. So this thing took off around 3:41 today. So usually it takes us about 40 minutes to set the plane up. Unfortunately, that's kind of how long it takes. All right, and I guess I'll just leave few clouds on. Let's leave live weather off. Well, you know what? Let's do live weather actually. Well, you know what? Yeah, there is a radar. And all right, let's try live weather and see what happens with the photogrammetry and all that. We should be okay because this plane typically does pretty well. This is not one of those planes where the screens kind of go off and on. So let's do that. We'll plug in 3 o'clock and let's see if we can find gate C30. Probably just gate 30. That's kind of my guess here. They have a gate 30. They don't have a gate 30. We'll just get as close as we can to. Let's go back up top here. So gate 28, 60, 72, gate. All right, so we'll just do gate 28. And we'll do gate 27 because that's medium. Where's that gate at? Yeah, I can deal with that gate. That gate works for me. All right, let's get in this airplane and get this thing set up. I wasn't joking with y'all. If y'all have seen my videos the last, recently, I've been joking that I'm going to do an ASMR type video. So I know I'm not whispering, but I am talking a lot softer than I normally do. So, I like the sound of airplanes to fall asleep to. So maybe, I don't know, maybe that's why people were falling asleep. So I'm going to try to keep my voice down tonight. My enthusiasm is way up, but I'll try to keep my voice, somewhat quieter than normal. And we'll see if I can put anybody else to sleep tonight. All right, so plane is shut down. I love how that sounds when it shuts down. What is that thing? Oh, it's trees. Do they really have trees in the middle of their airport? It's pretty wild if they have that. All right, let's go ahead and get the jetway connected. Put the chocks in. Let's connect the jetway. Open up this door. All right, let's set our passenger load first, and then we'll turn the airplane on. So our fuel tonight is 10,265 kilograms. So let's go ahead and type that in. So we'll put in 10,300. So we have 10.3. Confirm that the cargo, according to SimBrief, is 5,300 kilograms. So let's type in 5.3. Now this plane in real life that's doing this flight is an A321. That's the closest Airbus seating capacity-wise to this plane. So, if you missed it in the beginning, I was explaining that the A310 actually took the place of, the A330 took the place of the A310. So when the A310 was decommissioned, the A330 series took the place of it. I looked a while today, and I could not find any A330 flights that were, like less than 4 hours. So I decided not to do one. All right, so let's come up here. Let's go ahead and click our batteries on. Click on our external power. Now, when you're setting up this plane, anything with white lettering eventually has to be turned off. You have to push the button to get rid of the white lettering. We don't need to do it yet. And one other thing, these switches here, the yaw dampener, the pitch, and avionic switches here, do not turn those on until the IRS navigation system is aligned. If you do that before then you will have some issues with performance, or they may not work at all. So do yourself a favor and just, don't do those switches until everything's aligned up. All right, let's arm the emergency lights, and let's go ahead and put on our lights for now. Let me go ahead and set some lights for the cabin, and then we'll get the IRS lined up. All right, captain and center instrument. There's a little bit of flood. This is the switch here for the glare shield. And we have GigaChad's side over here, so let's turn GigaChad's up a little bit. And on the back of this pedestal here is the last of the switches we're going to use. This is for the overhead lights, the overhead equipment, and the pedestal equipment. So that's good. Now let's go up and turn on the IRS system. So let's go ahead and put that to heading STS. And let's do nav 1, nav 2, nav 3. Now we need to come down here. We're going to click the init, initialize. Let's go ahead and type in the two airports that we have. So we have CYVR /CYYC. UYYC. And plug that in here. Return. And now click Align IRS. Now let's plug in our alternate airport. It's CYEG for Edmonton International. This is optional. You don't have to do this. All right, let's go ahead and put our flight number in today. So it's Air Canada 216. Our cruising altitude should be 31. So here's the thing. In the flight plan from Navigraph and SimBrief, they have 37,000 feet. But in real life, this thing only went to 31,000 feet. So that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to plug in flight level 310. And the cost index is 11. All right, and our cruise wind, according to SimBrief, it's going to be off a little bit. Let me see on the charts here what 31,000 feet is. Because that cruise wind that we have is based off of 37,000 feet. So let's plug in 315.66. That's what I see for the wind speed and direction for oh, you know what? No, it'll be 240. My bad. 264.67. I'm sorry, I stand corrected. It's 270. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. 273.37. All right, now while everything is still aligning, let's go ahead and plug in our descent forecast. We're going to plug in everything except our destination. We'll do that before we descend the airplane tonight. So let's go ahead and plug in. We're going to do 20,000 feet. 269 by 13, so the direction Direction is 269 and 13 is speed. At 15,000 feet is direction of 295 and a speed of 35. And our last one is 10,000 feet. That is a direction of 334 and a speed of 19. All right, looks like everything is initialized. Go back to init. We can click here. Need one more message to show up, and then we'll know that we're actually aligned. So in the meantime, let's come over here. We never did click apply. So let's click apply here because the FMC is on now, so we can now send that over. Before everything was off, so it didn't make sense to send it over. All right, let's go ahead and here. All right, there's our other message we were waiting on. That is now upgraded. So let's go ahead and clear this message. Let's plug in our flight plan details now. Pretty simple flight plan tonight. All right, so we are taking off from runway 8 right. And we are doing the FS7 departure. Insert that. We'll get rid of those vectors momentarily. All right, now we need to type in ALNOD. So ALNOD. The flight plan discontinuity line. All right, let me get rid of that vector. So hit clear. Let's get rid of that vector. And let's go down a little bit. Let's get rid of that other discontinuity. All right, very good. So from all nod, we are picking up IK NIX. So IK NIX. The flight plan discontinuity again. Page up a little bit. We have MENBO, MENBO. MENBO. By the way, if you hear some bass thumping, that's my neighbors listening to music and watching movies and shit, so I don't know if it'll bleed into the microphone or not, but if you hear it, it's not coming from me. All right, so we just clicked on, by the way, we need to add an airway now to our flight plan, so we're going to click on the button next to MENBO. We're going to click on airway. And our airway tonight is the Q983. And our exit point is Norit. Now that is in there. And that is it for actually all the waypoints we have to type in. So now let's go to the line next to CYCC. Let's go to standard terminal arrival. And we are actually doing RNAV-Z 17 right. RNAV-Z 17 right. 17 right. Upton is our transition. And this right here is our standard terminal arrival tonight. And we have Norit, that's our transition again. So let's insert that. Now we have to clean this up a little bit. So let's clean all this up. Let's clear this out, this discontinuity. Let's clear that out. And let's see if Norit, I don't think it will, but let's see if it shows up more than once. Because we typed it in as part of the airway, and it's also part of the landing. So let's see if it shows up twice. I don't think it will, but ooh. See how we have Upton here? So Upton, this one right here, that's part of our arrival. This one is part of our approach. So what we're going to do is we need to get rid of the discontinuity first. My bad. Let's get rid of the vector first. Now let's clear out one of these Uptons. So let's clear out this one. And now let's clear out the discontinuity. Now Upton's only in there one time, which is what we want. So let's go ahead now and check this on the map. And we should have a very good, very complete flight plan at this point. So, and if that's the case, we'll finish setting up the tablet, get the APU turned on, back up, and then get on out of here. So let's go ahead and switch this over to plan. I usually put it on 30 miles. And let's sit right here. And what you're going to want to do is on this up arrow here, and that will cycle us through the actual flight plan. So it'll take us to all the waypoints. So there's Almond, there's Inkix, there's Menbo, there's Norrit. This is our arrival. Upton, and then there's our U-turn so we can land. ILS landing is also the same way. There's an RNAV landing that we may do, which actually comes from this waypoint here, OB. So when we come up, we'd come up like this. And then there's one where it just kind of bends around like this and it cuts out all this area here. I don't think this plane is great at those kind of RNAV landings. We may try it, but I don't think I can adjust the RNP, the required navigation performance. And if I can't, then I'm not going to do this kind of landing because this is an RNP landing, required navigation performance. I know the Boeing has no problem doing it, the 737, but this plane, I don't remember if it does it. If I can do it, we'll try this landing. If not, we have this one here where we're going to come up, make a big U-turn, and we can either catch the ILS or we can just do the RNAV. So that's all good. Let's go back to plan here. And what I like to do is I like to keep this one on map for the most part. Giga Chad, I like to put him on the plan. He's in charge of the flight plan, Giga Chad. So let's come over here. Let's finish setting this up. So let's see what our total weight is. We have 112.8. So let's come up here and type in 112.8 and enter. Let's refresh the METAR. And we can click on this box here for runway length. Shows up right here. We can click on this again. And runway heading, we can click on that. And click on that right there. And anti-ice is going to be off. Air conditioning will be on. Flaps and slats at 15. Now let's click calculate. And now we have our V speeds right there. So that is all set. Let's go ahead and get rid of the jetway and the chocks. And we're going to put the APU on and get ready to get backed up. Let's go ahead and get clearance from the ATC first and make sure that bitch gives us let's make sure she gives us the runway we want. Departing straight out. We can use 8 left. Let's go ahead and change that. So before we do anything else, let's change the runway. I don't need that. I do it. All right, let's close this out. All right, runway 8 left. Okay, so that's fine. And now we need to come over here and adjust the runway over here. We have a new runway now. So let's refresh this. Let's click on this. And let's click on the heading, and it's still 100. All right, there we go. All right, let's get the V. Let's get the APU turned on. So let's go ahead and turn on this pump here. And let's flip on the APU. And let's click start. Let's turn our bleed on. And since the door is closed, this APU will show up here now. If any of the doors are open, this screen will not populate automatically. We'll turn on the pitch, the yaw, and the avionics once the APU is up and running. This should start catching any second now. Still need to do our takeoff. Oh, you know, we didn't do this yet. All right, so what is our V speeds again? 135 and 136. 135. 136. This V2 speed here, when we plug in the speed on the glare shield, you know, up top where the autopilot system is, this number will change as well. All right, so that's all set up. Go back to init. Let's go to the next page. Our fuel block is 10.3, so you can see it's starting to come up now. You gotta leave the ground power system on and connected until the generator is working and the bleed is working. So, all right, our fuel block is 10.3. And our zero fuel weight and our center of gravity is... So zero fuel weight is 102.5. And the center of gravity is 25.7. Let me write this down because I probably will forget it. 102.5, 25.7. We're also going to adjust the trim wheel once we get the hydraulics and all that on. So, all right, 102.5. 2.5. And we have 25.7. Well, I didn't even have to write that down. Look at that. I mean, I did write it down, but I didn't need to reference it. So we are all set up in the FMC now for our takeoff. Let's leave this up here. And we can now, APU is running, external power connect. Okay, let's make sure the parking brake is on. Parking brake is on. Let's disconnect the ground power. And let's go ahead and finish getting some of this stuff ready up here. So let's go ahead and turn. Remember I said everything that's in white needs to go off. First we need to put the flight director on. I'll click this galley light. We can turn the pitch now, the yaw, and the avionics switches now that the IRS is all aligned. Let's go ahead and turn on the master oxygen supply. Turn probe heat, window heaters. Getting ready to back up so we can now turn on the fuel pumps. And we can now turn on the beacon light as well because we're getting ready to start our engines. We just need to do two things first. Well, maybe three things. So our V2 speed says 161. I always do 15 knots higher than that. So we're going to make that 176. And I usually put the decision height on takeoff at -5. So let's do that. And we have our flex temperature tonight. Seems to always be 59 degrees for some reason. Now our approach height tonight, according to the charts, is 3,600 feet. So let's plug that in up here now. If you have like something like 3,650, you can just click this and it'll put it right in between the 7 and the 6. So ours is 3,606 tonight, so we're going to leave it there. All right, we don't need to do anything down here just yet. We'll turn on the transponder soon. Let's go ahead and back up. So we need to go that way. So let's go ahead and going backwards. Let's push this button here. Disconnect our parking brake. Once we start moving, we'll turn on our engine. Still have to program the correct barometric pressure. We'll do that as well. But if you look down here now, you can see the V2 speed. Now it says 176. So oh, buddy, are you going or what? Here we go. Let's start angling ourselves. And let's get these engines started up here. So let's go to crank. A or B, it doesn't really matter. Let's arm that. Wait for N2 to get to about 10, 15, somewhere in that area. And let's put on our fuel. All right, the barometric pressure is 1016. See here it has 30, 32. Okay, so there we go. All right, let's stop him from pushing us now. Put our parking brake back on. Now we can start our second engine. Turn that on. Let's turn our transponder on. TARA, and click this to above so it catches traffic above us. And we can put our weather system on number 1 or number 2. It doesn't really much matter. Either one's fine. If there's weather in the area, it'll show up. If there's not, then it won't show up. Let's put our brake fans on. And let's set our auto brake to max. Set this to continuous relight, nav light, wing lights, taxi lights. And I think we're good to go. I never did turn these on, so hopefully nobody died. All Alright, and everything else is clean up here. We can actually turn off the APU now, so let's do that. Alright, and let's go taxi. Oh, by the way, the system here, the flight director is already on, and we're in nav mode, so if we do an ILS landing tonight, we'll switch this to ILS. If you're trying to capture a VOR, you go up to VOR, so just click constraints, so it shows up anything that's an altitude or a speed constraint will show up here. And let's go ahead and release our, we got 2 more things to do, sorry. We got to put our flaps and slats down. I think our trim is 1. It was 1 even, if I remember correct. Yeah, 1 up. So let's go ahead and set that for 1 up. There we go. And what we can do now, we can actually test our takeoff configuration. So let's release the park and brake and then see if this makes any kind of noise. We're good. I think something shows up on there, does it? That's normal. Okay, very good. So let's get out of here. Let's give it a little bit of juice. Let's head to Calgary. As many times as I've flown planes in all these simulators, I never really do any flights in Canada. I don't know why. I mean, Canada's a really pretty part of the world to fly over. I don't know why Look how small that plane is compared to us. Jesus. Like my boot versus an ant. See you, buddy. Have a good flight. It's TJ. He's learning how to fly a Cessna. He's going for his pilot's license. He only has about 200 hours real flight time, so he's got a little bit more work to do. I think I can close Navigraph out for a while. I don't really need it again until we go in for our landing to see what kind of landing we're going to do. If it's going to be an RNAV, a GNSS RNAV like we have now, if it's going to be an RNP RNAV, or if we're just going to do an ILS landing. It really depends on how well I can program the FMC. If the FMC allows me to program the navigation performance, then we may just do the more difficult of the 3 landings. Certainly that RNP landing is much more difficult because it's a much tighter turn. It's like a really sharp U-turn and then you just land. I did that the other day. I forget what plane I did that in. All right, we are almost at the holding point, and then we'll let the ATC tell us what to do. look at one thing real quick. I just want to see what our transition altitude is. So just bear with me 1 second. Let me look at the departure chart. So transition altitude. Oh, it's 18,000 feet. Okay. Works for me. All right, let's go ahead and. Oops. Oh, shit. I put the reversers on. The wrong button a second ago. All right, let's put 100 back in here. That's our takeoff heading. All right, let's come up here. Let's put our strobe lights on. Put our takeoff lights on. Let's let them know we're leaving. And let's get out of here. There is a toga button we're going to be hitting here pretty soon. I'll turn the brake fans off in a second once we get lined up. All right, let's go ahead and turn the brake fans off. And let's get out of here. Let's release the parking brakes again. A little bit of throttle. Let's click toga. Hopefully there are no potholes on this runway. That's where the nose just goes. I've experienced that often in the simulator. All right, V1. Rotate. Put our gear up. Let's try to follow this flight director line here. We can. Once we get to about 1,500 feet, we'll engage the autopilot. Oh, I never did put on nav profile. My bad. That's one nice thing about using a mouse. I can just kind of slide over and do that. All right, we're at about 1,500 feet. Let's click that. Let's lock the landing gear. Put our flaps up. And we can put our slats up as well now. We are good. We're on our way. On our way, next stop, Calgary. Let me check one thing and then we'll go ahead and go back on the outside view. I just want to check our ETAR just to see if anything has changed with it. 0.16. All right, that's still good. So let's go ahead and turn the photogrammetry back on, so that's kind of why the buildings are now in 3D again. I really miss using the simulator the way it's meant to be used. It sucks that a lot of the airplanes, after Microsoft's last patch, kind of don't work well with some of these features, but it just takes away from the immersiveness for me a little bit. When buildings are flat or there's no traffic, just some things that I just wish some things were a little better. Maybe they'll fix it. Maybe their next patch will fix it. It worked really good until their latest patch, and once their latest patch came out, then that's what kind of stopped everything from working excellent. Now it just works okay. All right. Now it's not a very long flight tonight. I believe it's like 450 miles, and I think it takes like an hour and a half maybe. So there is a good chance I might do another flight, possibly tonight. I really want to fly that Piper again. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I may just do this flight and come back tomorrow and do a couple of flights tomorrow. That was a pretty fun flight last night in the that PC-12. I'd never heard of the Royal Flying Doctor before. I think that's really cool that Western Australia has this mobile service, and it's just it's like a fleet of it's like a group of doctors, and they fly from different parts of Western Australia and like middle of Australia to Western Australia. And I don't know if they go to people's homes or hospitals or what they do, but it's called the Royal Flying Doctor Service. And they have a fleet of PC-12s, and they just fly all over the place. That's a pretty interesting way to do medicine when you have, because like in America, everything is kind of centralized. You have a really big city and then suburbs around it, and then some rural parts, but everything is kind of right around that city. In Australia and some other countries, you have a big city, but there's also people that live like way out, far from the city, and they may not have certain type of doctor in that area that can do a certain procedure, or we have that in America too. There's a lot of people I've talked to over the years that live in parts of Virginia and parts of Pennsylvania, and they have to drive 3 or 4 hours to get to, a certain doctor that they need to go see. I don't know if Air Canada still uses this livery or not, but it's available, so we're going to use it. Should be somewhere around 3:50 to 4 o'clock right now on this clock here. Yeah. So this is about 10 minutes earlier than the plane, when it took off. It took off around 3:50, I think. Right. Well, anyways, we're right around the same time that they took off. We're gonna have to go back inside the cabin here in a minute to apply standard pressure. Fall asleep. Those AMR chicks are funny when they do like the little fingers and they're like trying to touch you. I know it's our first date, but let me give you a facial massage and a haircut. Let's put standard pressure on. Get that, and the X button, we got standard pressure. We're in icing range, so let's turn on some icing equipment. This one, and this one. Be quiet in the cabin. See, we're in climb mode, so this thrust management system is what controls the engines and the thrusters and all that. This will, as long as it's an automatic, it should adjust climb, cruise, takeoff go around. Like when we land, it should go back to takeoff mode when we're landing in case we need to do, a touch and go, or we need to do a go around. If you want to do it manually, you have the buttons here. Takeoff, go around, climb mode, managed climb mode, cruise. So here's the brake pressure. So right now brakes are off. When the brakes are on, both of these needles here are somewhere, like in this green section here. If you don't want to look at the brake pedal to see if it's on, you can always just look here and see if the brakes are on. They should always be on. I mean, this plane doesn't really have failures like that, so I don't know if you can set a brake failure anyways. All right, let's see here. And there's really not much else to do at this point. We're going to go back outside here in a moment. Seatbelts off so all the fake people can do what they do. Snow-covered mountains of Canada. So our flight plan from SimBrief said that we should go up to 37,000 feet, but this flight in real life only went up to 31,000. Let me double check. Let me look at the flight right now. Let me pull it up on FlightAware. But I'm 99% sure it went up to 31,000 feet. Let's see here. FlightAware is under simulator section of my iPad. All right, Air Canada ACA 216. An hour and 30 minutes of travel time. It just landed a few minutes ago. I mean, in real life, this plane only went up to 29,000 feet in real life. That's weird. I wonder why. It might be the airway that we're on. I wonder if the airway is capped at 29,000 feet or 31,000 feet. A lot of times when airlines are capped at a certain altitude, it's because the airway that they're on. Oh, wait, that's not the most recent flight. Let me see here. I was looking at the history of their flights to see, like kind of what route they were landing, because when I was planning this trip, the plane was still in the air, so I wasn't sure which landing pattern it was going to do. So I looked at some of the historical flights. All right, now this plane tonight landed on runway. We're going to change a couple of things mid-flight. Yeah, no, this plane only went up to 31,000 feet. Okay. Nope, 29,000 feet, this plane also. All right, let's see what runway this thing landed on. Land on 35 left, is that what that is? If it is, we're going to land on that runway too. I'm going to change a couple of things here. Sure did. What kind of landing did it do? Looked like it did either the ILS or the RNAV landing. All right. Well, let's go ahead and change our approach. We'll do that once we get up to cruising altitude. We'll change a couple of things. Let me go ahead and look at the map here on Navigraph and just double check the runway. So that, 35 right, okay. So let's go ahead and gotta unpin a couple of charts. Let me do that first. I had the different landing charts pinned. So let's go ahead and change this to 35 right. And let's see what kind of landing we have here. looks like it did. I'm going to say it did the ILS landing. That's what it looks like. We're going to pin the other ones as well. So RNAV Y. Sorry, this is a little boring, me kind of talking to myself. I'm just trying to get the flight plan together so we can land this bird here. Put this bird back in his cage. Yes, sir. 35 right. Let's pin these other two landings as well. Okay. All right, that's very good. Let's go ahead and we're climbing. We're at the cruising altitude. So let's do something here. Let's go ahead and, or we can turn off the anti-ice. But I want to pause the, I'm going to pause the plane real quick while we fix this. All right, so let's come here. Down to, now to change this, we need to click on the actual airport. So we're going to click on this. We're going to change this to ILS 35 right. And we are doing the this one here. It's still NORIT, so that's still fine. Let's insert that. Now we need to do a couple of things. So depth 2 now is our last waypoint before we make our turn. So, all right, Vesga, Mesca, depth 2, then vector. Then let me look at this chart here. I'm not familiar with, okay. So that's good. So let's go ahead and get rid of this vector first. And let's get rid of this discontinuity here. We have depth 2. All right, we can continue now. All right, so depth 2, okay, that's all good. Intercept, okay, all right, so we're good. Okay. All right, very good. Let's just click flight plan again and go over here. And let's click. Use. Plug that in so we can match up our landing with the correct correct radial. So this right here, this is where you can input a fix, right? So this BRG here, this is what radial we're flying against right now. So radials radiate away from the VOR station. So right now, radial 63 is the one that we're like kind of flying towards right now. So if we were going to fly to that radial, we would have to fly the opposite of this number here. So the 180-degree opposite of this would be 243. So I'm guessing that might be what our continuous relight's on. We can turn that off. Very good. So we are all set. We are good to go. Our top of descent is a little while away. Yeah, that plane definitely did. Yeah, I think that plane definitely did the ILS pattern for the landing. I don't know if it did the ILS in real life. It was either that or it was the RNAV GNSS, which the GNSS, that's like Global Navigation something system, I think is what it stands for. I don't recall exactly what it stands for, but I know it's Global Navigation something something. I don't think there's a way to, let me check. I don't think there's a way to program the RNP. This plane here, let me see here. Mode. Maybe when we are sending, it'll show it. Global page. We can at least plug in our decision height. Let's plug that in here. So our decision height tonight is, it looks like it's 100 feet. Now the wind correction, I don't know if, let me see if our system shows wind gusts or not. Update the METAR. So you see how it says gusting from 15 knots? So typically when you are adding speed to your approach, usually you take half of whatever the wind gust is. So this is variable, from coordinate to coordinate, so I don't know, but if we were landing at Vancouver, I'm pretty sure we would add 7 knots to whatever the approach is. So, I don't see any wind gusts here. Like here, you can see this wind gust is this G here. So it's, the wind speed is, it's 50 degrees, 10 knots, wind gusts up to 15 knots. So this says variable up to 3 knots. We can see for 15 square miles, few clouds, 2,500 feet. This is our QNH, same as this. So we'll see if this updates at all. Either way, I'm going to add probably +5 to whatever the approach is, but go to sleep. Go to sleep. My fingers and go to sleep. Our landing chart. I wish I could pull the charts up on this airplane, but it doesn't allow us to. So we do have some altitude constraints. So let's see what it says for IGVEP, because it should be. No, that doesn't apply to us. That's only for runways 11, 17 right and left. So NORAD, we need to be above 14,000 feet for a METO. Let's see what it says here. A METO is 14,000 feet. That's good. Sedell is 13,000 feet. Amazing. Big VEP is 13,000 feet as well. And that's 12,000. 1,000. All right, the only one that doesn't make sense is this IGVEP here, but what we'll do is let's plug in 14.8 Amito. Let's plug in 14,000 here also. Let's do 2 if it lets us. Sometimes it doesn't allow us to change it. Yeah, it doesn't let us change it. No worries. If we need to take manual control over for that part, we certainly will. We got our top of descent coming up pretty soon. A quick little flight. All right, so that's all good. Oh, you know, we are going to have to take manual control over, because at IGVEP we need to be at a maximum of 230 knots and lower than 13,000 feet. That's interesting. Got the wrong information there. Yeah, I don't know, and I can't change it, so we're going to have to do some manual work here. Oh, you know what? You know what? That's right. I'm doing it wrong. Shit. You have to click on the actual waypoint. That's right. It's been so long since I've flown this plane. Let me pause this real quick. It's been so long since I've flown this plane, I forgot. All right, the airplane is paused. Let's click on the waypoint. We have to click on the other side then. So IGVEP, let's click on this here. There we go. All right, we need to be a max of 230 knots. So it's at or below. Oh shit, wrong thing. 13,000 is the number here. That's 13,000, and this is 230 knots for speed. Okay, let's click return. Okay, and Sedell is okay. And Amito is okay. All right, let's go to... I think that's good. That's good. All right, Vesga is 220 and 9,000. Make sure. Okay, that's good. And Mesca is a max of 210 knots. Okay, good. Very good. So the rest of it's okay. It's probably going to change the top of descent, but that's okay. What is our top of descent? Do we have it listed yet? I tell you what, let's actually plug in our forecast for CYCC. Still variable, damn it. Let's see if Navigraph has anything. It's still same information on Navigraph. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add a headwind. So if we are landing on 35, the opposite is 345, so the opposite is 65. So let's put in 165 and like 3 knots. So 165, 3. Very good. Let's come here. Still don't have the top of our descent. All right. Well, I know it shows up on the map here, so that's fine. The first altitude we're descending to tonight is 22.6. So let's plug that in. And we'll just keep an eye and find out when we're going to start descending here. PP go, doing. We still have to set up the course and the frequency for our landing, but we have time to do that. And we'll do our best to go for a Category 3 landing. Category 2, Category 3 would be best case scenario. This plane, we can do it. We just need to make sure both autopilots are armed in order to do that. Ain't never seen an ass like that. The way you bounce, you make my pee-pee go. Doing. The way you move it, you get. Seen an ass like that. My pee-pee go. Doing. Let's all right, so our top of descent is right by Menbo. We still got a good while before top of our descent. All right, very good. I'm not going to speed up the simulator tonight. We'll just take in the views of Canada. You know, a lot of times I do speed up the simulator, but we're not going to do that today. We're just going to look at the kind of pretty flying this time of day with the sun setting and overlooking all these super cold mountains. Our Air Canada A310, which does not exist in real life. Sit back, close your eyes, and just listen to the roar of the engines, put you to sleep. Every once in a while you hear the of my vape. There's the moon. Night moon. Kids used to love that book when they were growing up. Good night moon. The whole book was pretty much just saying good night to things and animals. Good night, cow. Good night, pig. Good night, sun. Kind of enjoyed that when kids were growing up. I really liked the bedtime, the reading of the stories, and I kind of miss that sometimes. It was a quiet part of the day. You know, just sitting there, kind of sometimes snuggling with your kid. Sitting there just, taking 15, 20 minutes out of your day just to read a story to them. I mean, that was probably one of the best parts of being a father when they were being a dad. When they were growing up. Anybody could be a father. It takes a special person to be a dad. But I really like that. Kind of miss that. Maybe I'll have grandchildren 15, 20 years from now, and I'll be able to read them stories too. My mom actually goes to elementary schools a couple of times a month, and reads stories to the kids. She was in education her whole career. I think that's really cool that she still goes to schools and does it. That's pretty cool that she does that, I think. She'll sit there like in one of the little kid chairs and she holds the book, like hold the book like this and start, she'll read with the book facing out to the kids, and she'll kind of read upside down or turn it to the side a little bit, so she can see it. One of these days I'll get used to turning stuff in front of a camera. I get confused. Same as I get confused backing up airplanes, I get confused which way to turn to show stuff on the camera. Alright. We got 70 miles to Indo. $173 to our destination. We should really only need about 110 miles to descend, especially with the airport being, our landing being like 3,600 feet above ground. We never did switch our traffic system over. Traffic we can do normal. Good cold evening. Hello, you poor devils. Good cold evening. Is there one amongst you who was from the Karukin plantation? From Karukin plantation. Who said that? Looking for the Brittle brothers. Do you know them? John, Ellis, and Raj, sometimes called Lil Raj. Talk to him like that. Like what, my good sir? That, sir, I'm simply trying to ascertain. Speak English, goddammit. Like the opening scene from Django Unchained. It's a great scene. That opening, I guess it's 10 minutes in the dark. It's great. Great scene. There's our top of descent that's showing up there. We'll wait for this. I didn't realize clicking profile again was going to put us in an automatic descent. So I clicked altitude hold again. But when this, either when we get a little closer to Menbo or when this magenta diamond gets a little more centered, that's when we'll go ahead and click on profile again. probably a really pretty flight, especially during the day when you're flying over this part of Canada, just looking at all the snow-covered mountaintops, and that'd be cool. All right, let's program the ILS while we're getting ready to descend. So we have a course of 345. And the ILS frequency for tonight's landing is 110.75. 110.75. There we go, just like that. We're all set. And we do have a required navigation performance there. Very interesting. I'm going to see if we can change that coming up. Let's wait till we get a little closer to Menbo. And we'll change it over. And we still have 18,000 is still the transition altitude. All right, very good. Glide scope capture point is around 4,800 feet tonight. As good as well. Still waiting for this vertical deviator to see if it's going to come down a little bit more or not. You get within about 10 miles of Menbo and it hasn't come down yet, we'll just click profile and let the plane do its thing. How far do we have to our destination? 110, 109 miles. We should be okay. The net altitude is about 27,000 feet. It's 714.21. It's about 81 miles plus about 10, so about 90 some miles to send down to our beach tonight. Let's give it a few more miles. See if that vertical deviator comes down. It looks like it's coming down a little bit. That's my eyes are playing tricks on me. Looks like this diamond's starting to squeak down a little bit. Might just be my eyes playing tricks on me. All right, let's go ahead and click profile. Let's go start descending. That vertical deviator didn't like that. It ran away from us. It ran away. It was over here, and it ran away. It must be quite a bit lower than it wants us to be right now. Estimated 0.3. That's what I was going to plug in. I was going to see if I could change this. Let's see if we can change it. Over here, do it. Changed automatically. It was like the plane read my mind. That's crazy. How did the plane do that? The airplane read my mind. I was getting ready to plug that in. You saw me typing it in, and it just changed automatically. It's crazy. Let's put the seatbelt lights on. Check our METAR again. Still variable. See what our live weights are. So this weight is 107. We've used about half our fuel. All right, here we go. 220 and 2 knots. No wind gusts though, so I think I'm just going to put +5. Let's come over here to node. I'm sorry, to takeoff approach, and let's just put +5. The wind correction. We have 30, 40 chosen. 38 +5 is 143, so it looks like that'll be +10. I don't know if that's 1,000 feet or might be 100 feet because we're right in line with. Okay, so 22,600, then we have 20,200. Now, if you haven't seen my videos before, the reason I do the altitude in steps like that is because it shows us on the map here. This arrow now is the airplane trying to let us know where it thinks we're going to be at that altitude. METO, we need to be at 14,000 feet, so let's just plug 14,000 in because that's more important of the altitudes right now, is making sure we're somewhere around 14,000 feet. And we're heading on a course of 56, so let's make sure we match this up as well. Gotta imagine we're close to icing range right now. Now we're negative 14 degrees, so that's not too bad, I guess. Oop, it just popped on. Man, it's like the airplane is still reading my mind. It's crazy. That's like when you think of something and then you go on Google and all of a sudden you have an advertisement for it. That's crazy too. Let's turn down a little bit of the brightness of the screen here. It's kind of bright. We are doing very good. I think from now on, when I'm flying this plane, I'm gonna descend about 10 miles early. The plane seems to do much better that way, and because a lot of times when this plane is descending, going the FMS doing the descent, it overspeeds, and you need to pull the air brakes up periodically. You really have to pay attention to speed when you wait till the last minute to descend. But whoa, look at this. Is that a little airport on top of the mountain there? That is pretty cool if that's what that is. Oh, it's not on the mountaintop. It's in that little valley there. I guess it's not going to show us the airport. I was curious if it would show us the airport. ever going to be below 13,000 feet by VEP. I sure hope it does. I don't know. It worries me a bit. Tell you what, let's go ahead and do this descent ourselves. Turn this down as well. Do a little bit of a manual intervention here to try to get down to this altitude. Profile was not getting us down to the right altitude. You can see on that left, that little yellow arc. That's where we need to be at 13,000 feet. 10 miles to get there. And we're capped at 230 knots also, so you know what? I think next time I fly this plane, I'm going to descend on my own. I'm not going to let the autopilot do the descent. I'm just going to do it on my own because I go through this every time with this airplane. You know, I wait for the little icon to get close where the navigation thinks we should descend, and we're always off the mark a bit. After that, we need to be at 12,000, 1,000. So let's plug that in. All right, so far so good. Now we got everything under control again. We can set our brakes. Put this on continuous relay. Our logo lights on. And the beginning of hour 6500 was 5200. Let's plug in 5200. That's the beginning of our ILS. We're going to be switching over to heading mode here very soon. But you know what? Let's do that now. Let's go heading mode. Let's do ILS mode. And let's start descending here. Let's turn to catch depth 2. Let's catch that first. We're out of the anti-ice area. We can turn anti-ice off. Let's put this down to 210 knots. Put ourselves in rose mode. And when this magenta line here, where's my mouse? Oh, hang on. When this magenta line here starts to line up, that's when we'll start making our turn, and then we'll click V/L. Oh, we can actually click land, actually. We can click the land button because the glide scope has started to show up. Doing good. There's our airport over there. Flaps 1 down. Let's go ahead and turn on landing lights. We should be making our turn any moment, actually. You know you want to start moving. lining up. We're on to 5. All right, so we have about 9 degrees to go. You can see here, remember I told you before, this is showing us what radial we're on. So if we're catching the 345, we only have about 15 to go. So this thing should start moving here pretty soon. Here we go. Let's click the land button. Localizer is captured. You can now click the other autopilot button as well. You know what I'm talking about, what button I'm talking about. We're about 14 miles away. See, it shows up right here and also right here. Let's double check our METAR again. Still 30 and 10:15. Let's put down our landing gear. Our plane should be turning again here momentarily to finish lining up with the runway. There we go. See it start and turn. Wide scope should be capturing really at any time now. And let's go ahead and set our approach speed is 143 tonight. That's a VAP +5. Our flaps all the way down. It came down here, and 130 is what it's calculated. I put it in +5. Even though there's no wind gust, that's what we're going to do. And I'll approach. We're set to do a Category 3 landing, and we're all lined up. We are good. Once we get on the ground in Calgary, we will contact the ATC, have them tell us what gate to go to, and then we will meet our guy or lady with the glow sticks, telling us where to stop our plane. So thank everybody for flying Air Canada this evening. Certainly do appreciate your business. Number 1 in the hearts of Canadians everywhere. All right, you can see the glide scope is captured now. There's my son. So glide scope is captured. We are all set for a Category 3 landing. We will taxi over. Gavin, yeah. Pour like half of that bottle into this bottle and just take this other and just take one of them with you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, and take one of the bottles with you. All right, here we go. Love landing at nighttime. It's so cool looking. All right, let's turn the autopilot off. Otherwise, it's going to keep on clicking. Obviously, in real life, we wouldn't be backing up on the runway, but we just spent a bunch of time outside the airplane.
Stop runner input.
Boy, this is a mess. Jesus Christ. Set it down, Gavin. All right, let's contact the tower. Boy, that was a mess. Maybe next time we will just sit inside the airplane and land it properly. And I think we're under control now. That was a wreck. Next time, I'm not going to do that. Next time, I'm going to sit inside the airplane and actually, like, well, whatever. It's just a simulator. All right, let's put our flaps up. That was a really cool flight. I like that flight a lot. Have to do more in Canada. Brake temperature's still high. Oh yeah, brake temperature's still hot. Flight director off. Turn these lights off as well. trying to use the reverse thrusters a little bit to slow us down since our brakes are so hot. That was a wild landing, man. I can't remember the last time I saw an airplane pop a wheelie on the runway. That was pretty cool. That's what we get for not being inside the airplane when we're trying to slow it down from a landing. I'm going slow right now, mainly because the brake fans. All right, good. Our brakes are okay again. They were really hot before. Now we should be okay for the rest of our taxi to the gate. They got us going all the way around this thing, Jesus. I guess they want us to make the most of our trip to Calgary. They want us to see the whole airport. All this just so I can be happy. This part is all about me. This part of the trip. This is just so I can see the guy with the air marshal with the glow sticks. That's the only reason why I do this part. And why the landings are messed up at times. Because, like, I need to change from this mode that I'm in to this mode so I can get to the ATC. But when I'm in this mode, I can't control the airplane at all. So it's like a delicate balance of trying to do this quickly and then going back to this mode and then going back and then going back. So, all right, I see our parking spot. Finally. I like zooming in all the way like this when I'm parking, because then I can see the guy much better, because a lot of times he kind of dips underneath of our airplane. Sometimes the air marshal wants us to run him over. Every once in a while that happens. You know, he just keeps on waving us in, and like our wheels are pretty much on top of it, but he just keeps on waving us in. They got us going all the way around this motherfucker tonight, don't they? Crazy. Jeez, more turns. Good Lord. I wonder if taxiing at this airport is always like this. Does every plane that land at this airport, they have to do this kind of taxiing all the time too? That would drive me nuts, man. All right, we're getting ready for showtime. Price of admission is getting ready to be paid. I see him. Maybe that might just be a truck. Oh, I don't think I see him. Oh, don't tell me he's not here. We did all this for nothing. Yeah, I don't see the air marshal. Damn it. That sucks. That sucks. All right, let's shut down the airplane. So let's go ahead and turn the APU on. Let's put our chocks in. Let's go ahead and start the APU. That off. This off. That off. Go ahead and shut off our TCAS system. Shut off the fuel tanks. Let's turn on. You know, let's just turn the batteries off. That's what stops the simulator, anyways. I think. Maybe not. Oh well. All right. Well, we're here. Thank you guys for tuning in to the latest episode of the Airplane Show. I very much appreciate it. It's late, so I'm going to go watch a movie. I will see y'all tomorrow for sure. We'll do a couple flights tomorrow. I have a couple things up my sleeve that I'm doing, and I will be back then. Anything you need, any questions you have, anything you'd like to see video-wise, just hit me up in any of my videos. Just click on video and leave a comment, and I will do my best to get back to you as quick as I can. That's about it. Please subscribe. Please click the like button. I very much appreciate anybody who stops by here and checks out these episodes, and I will see y'all again tomorrow on the next episode of the Airplane Show. So take care, be good to each other, be good